very hard one this time, but if you learn how to analyze a poem, that's a skill that will be fruitful for your entire life. Once you learn this, you learn it forever. As last week we dealt with the life of Rupert Brooke, one of the most famous war poets in British literature, I decided to pick out one of his poems in order to give a general outline on how to comment on a poem. There are different steps that we have to walk through. The first step is the reading of the poem. Poetry in ancient times was a social part of life. If you imagine the epic poems that were recited in front of the community, you understand that poetry was part of public life. But since the Romantic age, poetry has become a private way of using, a private way of enjoying literature. So, especially this kind of sonnets, because the soldier is a sonnet, we will see it in a minute, are meant to be read silently first. This that does not prevent that on some special occasion you can recite them out loud, right? So, in order to enjoy the poem at its best, we need to read it silently, at least twice, without looking up the words we don't know in the dictionary. Otherwise, we miss the emotion that the poem gives, right? Good. If you happen to have a reading by a mother tongue speaker, listen to it and try to read along as we do when we sing. Poetry has similarities with music. Sometimes when we know the melody of a song, but we do not remember the words, we try to sing along. In poetry, it's exactly the same. So let's try to read along. Good? So.
The Soldier by Rupert Brooke. If I should die, think only this of me, that there's some corner of a foreign field that is forever England. There shall be in that rich earth a richer dust concealed, a dust whom England bore, shaped, made aware, gave once her flowers to love, her ways to roam, a body of England's, breathing English air, washed by the rivers, blessed by sons of home. And think, this heart, all evil shed away, a pulse in the eternal mind, no less, gives somewhere back the thoughts by England given, her sights and sounds, dreams happy as her day, and laughter learnt of friends, and gentleness in hearts at peace under an English heaven.
Probably you know all the words, but let's have a quick look. Foreign means not of our country, that doesn't belong to our nationality, to our nation. So for Italy, England is a foreign land. A field, of course, is a piece of countryside. Dust is what you find on, for example, this book was in the bookshelves. It is full of dust, with dust. So dust is that. A dust whom England bore. Bore, you remember from our lesson, means to bear. Shaped, given a form, made aware, made it conscious. So give him or her, give to this dust consciousness. Gave once her flowers to love, her ways to roam. To roam means to go on trips. To roaming means to go here and there. I went roaming Tuscany. I mean, I had a trip around Tuscany. A body of England, breathing English air, washed by the rivers, blessed by sons of home. That blessed is an ancient form for blessed. That means given a blessing. And think this art or evil shed away. Evil is the contrary of good. Shed away means given away, like washed away. A pulse is what you have in your waist, the pulse of your heart beating. So this heart is a pulse. There is something alive in this dead heart. This pulse is in the eternal mind, right? It is not dead. It has become one with God. And it gives back what thoughts England had once given him. What are these thoughts? They are the sights, the landscape of England, the sounds, the dreams, happy dreams made of happy days, laughter that we had with friends, and gentleness, right? And these hearts at peace are now under an English heaven. So I think the comprehension of the poem should be pretty done by here. What we have to do next step number 2, is to summarize the poem briefly, giving details about our narrative elements, remember, characters, events, setting. And if the poem has a traditional structure, for example, if it is a sonnet or an ode or a song or I don't know, a ballad, for example, you can say it here. This introductory sentence is sometimes called topic line. It means we should put here all the main topics we are going to deal with in our analysis, right? So let's have a look. Who are the characters? Okay, there's a speaker because it begins if I should die. So somebody is speaking, a speaker. This speaker is probably a soldier, and we get this from the title. Nowhere in the poem there is a hint that this this sonnet was written by a soldier, right? So this I probably a soldier, and then there is a listener, one or more. And we get this from the use of this think this only of me, okay? And think. So these two imperatives address directly a listener, one or more than one. The setting, what is the setting? We have two settings here, a present setting and an imagined setting, right? The present setting is the corner of a foreign field, right? Good. And then there is a setting that we can imagine through the usage of the words of the poet. And what is this setting that has been evoked, is made living in our minds, but not really present. Okay, that setting is England, right? Okay, England is repeated more than once. And what kind of elements of landscape do we have, right? We have flowers, ways to roam, English air, rivers, suns, right? And the thoughts by England given. So here we have something concrete, and here we have something abstract. The thoughts, what kind of thoughts? Sights and sounds. This is strange because sights and sounds may seem concrete, but he talks then about dreams, something that is abstract, that belongs to the life of people, right? So maybe these sights and sounds belong to the dreams that people had in England. And laughter, friendship, and gentleness. And all these thoughts and sights and sounds and dreams and laughter and friends and gentleness are now at peace, and they live on under an English heaven, right? So, what are then the events that are present or foreshadowed in the poem? The events are: the poet might die soon, if I should die, but that part of England which is in him, and we saw it, the dust that England gave life to, will go on forever. All this will be under an English heaven. So heaven is not only for, it's not for the whole of humanity. It seems that English people have their own English heaven. Let's go on. So now what did I do here? It looks horrible, but in order to make it clear. So when you build your introductory sentence, you have to make sure that everything you say in the introductory sentence has some sort of reference in the text. Why is that? Because especially Italian students introduce and comment poems they didn't read. You read the introduction to the poem in the book. You read the commentary to the poem, but you do not read the poem. In English, this is forbidden. In English, they study poems, not criticism, not only criticism, about poems, poetry. So let's have a look here. This is the sentence, the introductory sentence I wrote for you. In this sonnet, I told you before, if the poem has traditional form, you can mention it here. In this sonnet, the poetic voice, I, right? Not the poet, not the soldier, not the poet soldier. Here we only have I speaking, right? So the poetic voice is probably that of a soldier, as indicated by the title, right? You have to be precise. Don't invent anything. Don't merge concepts that are found here and there in your readings. You must stick to the text. This kind of operation is called close reading. I have to read my text closely. I have to say what the text says. I have to paraphrase it. I have to interpret, but I have always to refer back to the text. So let's go on. He is in a foreign land, foreign field. Here we have the reference. And he thinks he may die soon. If I should die, that's the reference. So he reassures the reader. Why? Why reassures the reader? Think only this of me, okay? There's some corner that is forever England, okay? Don't be sad. I will not be lost forever. There is some piece of England in foreign land. He reassures the unknown reader. Think, doesn't say, you, my lovely one, my loved ones. It's an unknown reader. And he reassures him or her or them that the images and feelings, images, the flowers, the ways, and the feelings, laughter, gentleness, friendship of England will find eternal life. English heaven, eternal mind, right? Nothing has to be invented. Everything has to be understood, reordered, and paraphrased. That's how to analyze a poem. So here we have a pretty complicated part, which is difficult because you should have more literary competence to do it on your own. So in books, this stylistic analysis is always guided. Okay, after the guidance of the book, then you have to write your own paragraph. Let's have a look. Structure. Structure of a poem. You should know this by your Italian, by your literary studies. Poems are divided in stanzas, not a stanza. Stanza is your own room in Italian. Stanzas. Stanzas are parts of the poem which are divided by a blank. So this poem, this sonnet, is divided into two stanzas, right? Each stanza contains a number of lines. This stanza contains 8 lines, that is it's an octave or octet. Sometimes I also read this octet. I always use octave. And then there is a second stanza made of 6 lines, and that's a sestet. Here there is an S. I don't know. What is the name of this? 14 lines. 14 lines is a sonnet. Okay? We will look in a moment what is the meaning of using a sonnet to talk about war. What is the rhyme scheme? We know it. You should know it very well. You have to mark each rhyming final word. Final sound in English is final sound with a capital letter. That's right. So let's go on and move myself here where I do not disturb, hopefully. So again, let's revise. There are 2 stanzas. First stanza, 8 lines. Second stanza, 6 lines. Here's the S missing. Total of 14 lines. Does this structure have a specific name? It's a sonnet. It is one of the oldest poetic forms in Western literature. So what? So what? The problem is Rupert Brooke in the trenches with people dying like flies on the left and on the right decided to write a sonnet, okay? Decided to go back to a traditional form of poetry. Why is it so? This is one of the leading questions we must always ask when we make structure and theme dialogue with each other, always in any kind of poem, but literature as well. So, rhyme scheme, we said it. Okay, so we have come to one of the most important topic about poetry or literary analysis. What part does structure, figurative language, sound effects play in the analysis of a poem, novel, or drama? This use of language isn't relevant per se. What does it mean? It doesn't mean that if I write beautiful metaphors, wonderful assonances, and what else? Beautiful structure, I make a work of art as a direct consequence. Maybe I can make stylistic game very pleasurable, but when we analyze literature, we must always make structure and content interact. This is a vexata question. It means literary critics are quarreling over this topic since the times of Adam and Eve. Is content more important than structure or language? or is it vice versa? That's for sure not our goal to answer this question. So we will take a medium stance and try to look at what happens when we balance on the same scale structure and theme, form and content, right? So let's have a look here what I said. Let's move myself to the top. How beautiful. No, it's the other one. Good. It is talking about structure isn't relevant per se, but only if we connect it with tradition and we highlight. Highlight is when I use something to make a point clearer in my text. When we highlight the similarities and differences of the work we are analyzing with its tradition. So, how can we do that? Not everybody of us is a literary critic. Me, in first person, I'm not. So, if you don't know, or if you don't remember what a sonnet is, or what kind of history, purposes, themes, or structures actually it has had over time, look it up in books. Wikipedia is, of course, very convenient way to look up things quickly, but look at that. There are also books. For example, the book I suggest, in the total certainty that no one of you is going to buy it, is the Penguin Dictionary of Literary Terms and Literary Theory. For example, you want to know the basics about the sonnet, its history, its structure? You go there. Where is it? Oh, I lost it. Where is it? Here it is. Come here. Right? You go. It's like a dictionary. You open it. For example, here we have fancy and imagination, something we will discuss when we do romanticism and Samuel Taylor Coleridge. And here you have a summary of the most important features about fancy and imagination. What are they? What are their differences? And so on and so forth. Another example, novel. Oh gosh, what is a novel? What is the difference between a novel and romance? We have a literary term and literary theory dictionary. We open it and we find the solution. Good. So I don't get any money from Penguin, so it's totally my own opinion. Let's say we have read sonnet. We have extracted relevant information, and the relevant information are here summarized as focus points. Not everything that we find is relevant. We find focus points. The focus points that I, in my wisdom, have found out are that the term derives from the Italian sonetto, which means small sound, small song. It consists of 14 lines, usually in iambic pentameters, while in Italian it is made of lines of 11 syllables. Here we should open a big parenthesis about the differences in metrics between the Italian language, which is a syllable timed language, in contrast, in comparison with English, which is a duration time language. Okay, so they do not count syllables, they do count the duration of the vowel, if it's a short vowel or long vowel. We'll do it maybe sometime or maybe not. But, okay, sonetto in English is not in endecasillabi, it's in iambic pentameters. The iambic pentameter is the most used meter in English. Shakespeare used unrhymed iambic pentameters, which is also called blank verse. So we are in the middle of the English tradition. And let's have a look at here. Oh, let's move down so you get some more focus here. There are two main types of sonnets. Here is an S missing, right? And the Petrarchan sonnet, the one made by Petrarch, we as Italian should know about canzoniere and so on and so forth. And the Shakespearean sonnet, which has a more complicated history, wasn't exactly introduced by Shakespeare, but for our purposes here, let's say there is also a Shakespearean sonnet. What's the difference between the three? Let's have a look at the Petrarchan sonnet. I picked up solo et pensoso, right? Solo e pensoso e più deserti campi, vo misurando a passi tardi e lenti, e gli occhi porto per fuggire intenti, ove vestigio uman l'arena stampi. There is a situation set. Altro schermo non trovo che mi scampi dal manifesto accorger delle genti, perché negli atti d'allegrezza spenti di fuor si legge com'io dentro avvampi. From the first situation, which is an outside situation, we go deeper in an inner situation. The division is first stanza with a quatrain, second, where is it? Second stanza with a quatrain. Sì ch'io mi credo mai che monti e piagge, fiumi e selve sappian di che tempre sia la mia vita che celata altrui, ma pur si aspre vie né si selvagge cercar non so, che amor non venga sempre ragionando meco ed io con lui. So we have a final part of the sonnet made of two more stanzas. One is a tercet, 1, 2, 3 lines. The other one is another tercet, 1, 2, 3. If we look at the rhyming scheme, we find the exact rhyme scheme of The Soldier by Rupert Brooke. Is it a case? Let's have a look at the Shakespearean sonnet, because as an Englishman, Rupert Brooke might have chosen to follow the Shakespearean structure of a sonnet. How is it? Shall I compare to a summer's day? Thou art more lovely and more temperate. Rough winds do shake the darling buds of May, and summer's lease hath all too short a date. A, B, So this is a quatrain embedded in a longer, bigger stanza of 12 lines. Then we have another quatrain. Sometime too hot the eye of heaven shines, and often his gold complexion dimmed, and every fair from fair sometimes decline, by chance or nature's changing course untrimmed. First situation, as we had there. Second situation, as we have here. But here we have a difference. In the ninth line, we have a turning point. There is also here, sic io mi credo, so that I think. And here the turning point is signed by the conjunction but. But thy eternal summer shall not fade, nor lose possession of the fair thou owest, nor shall death brag you thou wanders in its shade, when in eternal lines to time thou grow rest. Right. So, exposition of the main theme and the main metaphor. Beauty is a summer day. Second quatrain, theme and metaphor extended. Yes, you're beautiful as a summer day, but a summer day is less beautiful than you. Then there is a twist or conflict often introduced by but. So you are more beautiful than summer because you will not fade. And the basic thing that differentiates the Petrarchan sonnet from the Shakespearean sonnet is this final couplet, rhyming, right? So long as man can breathe or eyes can see, so long lives this, and this gives life to thee. This is a kind of final summary and conclusive image. When we move to the soldier, what can we see? Apart from the division in stanzas, okay, we have the two stanzas of quatrain plus quatrain made in one single stanza of an octave, and the final stanza of two tercets that here are divided, made in one single stanza as a tercet, the structure is the same. So the soldier is a Petrarchan sonnet. Why is it so? Is one of the questions that we may have to ask ourselves. Good. So now it's time to pass to something else, right? Good. So let's go on. Step 4. We have to make content and arguments. Arguments is the ideas and how they are connected together in a logical way. That's an argument. Argument is not a topic. Topic is the general theme. The argument is how the theme is developed in order to make a point, right? Argument. So, good. In Italian it's argomentazione. So we have to make content and arguments clear by paraphrasing it stanza by stanza. How can we do that? We can underline words that support our claims. Remember what I said before? I don't care what you read in the introduction to the poem. I just care what is in the poem. If you say something terribly intelligent, incredibly smart, but you cannot support it with a quotation, a quote from the text, for me is rubbish. Thank you. So, the octave, the first quatrain, right? If I should die, think only this of me, that there's some corner of a foreign field that is forever England, there shall be in that earth a richer dust concealed. The first quatrain, even if the poet dies, if I should die, not when I die or if I die, if I should die. This is a circumstance that is not given for certain. Even if the poet dies in a foreign land, his decaying body, the dust, this comes from a psalm in the Bible, earth to earth, dust to dust, we will become dust. So this richer dust is what remains after a person has died. So this, the dust in the ground, it means the ground of the foreign land will be made richer by another dust, the dust of the body of the English man who died. So, and it will be concealed, meaning hidden, right? So, his decaying body will make that land more precious, richer, more precious. Second quatrain. The dust to which, I'm going to read it again. A dust whom England bore, shaped, made aware, gave once her flowers to love, her ways to roam, a body of England's, breathing English air, washed by the rivers, blessed by sons of home. So, first quatrain, the poet dies, don't be afraid. That's the situation. Second quatrain, the dust to which the poet will be reduced bears the marks of shapes and awareness given by the motherland. All right? So this isn't an material dust. This dust has a soul. It has got an English soul because it bears, it has been born, the shape made aware by England. This dust has seen flowers, has had the possibility to roam around the nation. It has had the capability of breathe the English air, to be washed by rivers, and to be blessed by the sons of home. So this dust is not just a normal dust. It's not ground. All right? It's not simply pieces of earth without any meaning. This dust has been made aware. This dust had a consciousness. It was a living being. It has been living, right? So, the sestet, first tercet, the heart of the poet, now free from all evil and made part of that divine eternity, will give back what the motherland once gave to him. And think direct address to the listener. This heart, right, this heart is the heart of the dust. Dust usually doesn't have a heart. here again as a personification or a use of figurative language. Okay, so this dust is particular, it's not a normal dust, right? All evil shed away. So it has been freed by all the evils, by all the worries of material life, and has become a pulse in the eternal mind. It is like if we imagine God as being the mind, the intelligence that rules the universe, this heart, born by England, is a pulse in the mind. It's like when your heart beats, a pulse in the mind. So it makes God live, the intelligence of God living, right? And where are we? Second tercet. This pulse, this heart, gives somewhere back the thoughts by England given. What has been given to this dust will give back, right? So nothing is lost. It is a cycle of life and death. Final second tercet, her sight. What are these thoughts? Her sights and sounds, dreams, happy as her day, and laughter learnt of friends, and gentleness in hearts at peace under an English heaven. So the happiness of life in England, made of friendship, laughter, gentleness, will go on peacefully in an English heaven, right? So death, war, sorrow has no part in this sonnet. The soldier dies, but what he has acquired from his motherland will go on forever, right? Now, it should be clear why, when we talked about Rupert Brooke, we said that he had an idealistic way, idealistic conception of war. War is not a way to lose life, affection, love. It's a way to make the national identity go on, its values, its images, and so on and so forth. Step 5, we're almost at the end, so pull yourself together. We have to analyze the language in the sense of the grammar and lexical choices that have been made. This is something that people usually don't do, but it's very important. For example, what can we notice here? We can notice that all the poem starts as a conditional sentence. There is a condition. This condition is in its 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 words. After this, everything that comes after is the consequence of this condition, right? So if this happens, then this is what you have to do, right? So it's like instructions for people. If I die, what should you do? Well, this series of suggestion, advice, urges is made in the imperative. So it's an order to the people at home who learned of their loved ones buried or killed in war. there is no way to doubt about what to think. If I should die, imagine a good way to understand why language is so important is to change the structure. Imagine if the poem had been something like, if I should die, you may think this of me, or if I should die, you could, or it would be better. So that's a very, how can we say, uncertain way to deal with the condition. Here instead we have a very strong and terrible condition. If I should die, and a series of imperative. So it's a series of order. There is no space for doubt. If I should die, if I should die, think this of me. And here, for example, there shall be in that rich earth. This, of course, you may not know, because you're not a major an English literature major, but this expression here, there shall be, it's typical of the English Bible. So when it is written here, it gives the idea that it is an order given by God. You may not, I mean, you are not supposed to know it, right? This is one of the things that books should tell you, or teachers, right? Again, and think this art. No space for doubt. You have to think. I die, something material, and you think something that has to do with your mind, with your brain, with your soul. So we have two levels here. The level of material reality and the level of mind and thought and rationality and emotions, right? Good. So what else? We can note that there are many repetitions. For example, okay, repetition is one of the most important devices that in any work of writing, not only of literature, poetry, drama, whatever, is a cohesive element. It makes, by repeating words, concepts, structures, it makes the work cohesive. It is like a glue. The glue here is the repetition of a grammar tense. The grammar tense that is repeated here is the simple past, right? Bore, shaped, made aware. And this, if you remember my lessons, the lessons you've been given when you were children, when do we use the single past? We use the single past in a sequence of verbs when we want to give the idea of a narration and the idea of things that goes on one after the other. And here we find it, right? So he was born, got lost. Whom England bore, shaped, made aware, gave, washed, blessed, right? So it's inevitable. It's a list of things that England has done to this person, to this heart, to this dust. Good. And then we have something strange. At the fourth but last line, we have our first simple present. Please remember this, where is it? Think this here is an imperative. Gives is a simple present. When do we use the simple present? Remember my grammar lessons? Simple present, habitual actions, and laws of nature. In this case, this gives somewhere back the thoughts. It's like a law of nature. What has happened to this heart will be given back as a law of nature. This is part of the laws of the universe, right? So the death of an English soldier unknown in a foreign land makes this land richer and makes this land richer by a law of nature, right? And at the end, a list of positive things that the heart is going to give back. Good. Right. Here I have only written down in hopefully correct English exactly what I've been saying so far, what I've said so far. The poem starts by positioning the listener in an hypothetical condition, which is likely, even if not certain, the death of the poet soldier. But this condition realizes the reader is all. But if this condition takes place, the reader is almost ordered, it as, for example, through the repetition of imperatives, to take a particular stance means point of view, towards it. This is almost a divine fate. There shall be, told you before. The reader must remember that all important English values won't be lost, and this is made memorable through the repetition of simple past. To be made memorable means that you can remember them more easily, to make it memorable. This chain of events, remember, chain of events in the simple past, enhances the impression of the inevitability of English history and the narrative that built its national identity. Flowers, rivers, friendship, sun, friends, laughter, eternal mind. This is all what English people thought of themselves as national identity. What are we? We are those who love flowers, love countryside, are surrounded by rivers, are blessed by the sun. We can be loyal to our friends and happy and gentle and kind. This is exactly the representation that the English people have had in 1914 of themselves, right? That is the narrative of their national identity. Finally, the use of the simple present puts this situation in a law of nature kind of frame. The final list of thoughts by England given adds a quality of eternity to the urge of the poet. The urge means the push, okay? The urge, it's when the poet wants to convince us of something, right? Good. We finished. Maybe not. Maybe not. Okay, let's go here. Now we know this poem by heart, so I can... Figures of speech. Figures of speech are an important part of poetic diction. Here again, dealing with figures of speech in poetic diction doesn't mean to make a list of what we find. Metaphors, there is a metaphor in line 1. In line 1, there is an oxymoron in line 2. There is a metonymy in line 14. Who cares? right? That's not the problem. Our primary goal is to connect the figurative language with the effect the poet wants to achieve. What is the effect that the poet wants to achieve in this poem? In this poem, he wants to say that England was a mother and that we have to be loyal and grateful to this mother, and that the gifts that have been given to their to her children will never die. So what are the most important figures of speech here? There is the personification, that is the attribution of human characteristics to something non-human. England is personified. England is a country, doesn't shape things, right? Okay, so when something abstract makes the things that usually people do, that's a personification. And then here again, a metonymy. Here we can discuss for a century or so. Is that a metonymy or a synecdoche? Who knows? Who cares? I don't. Let's call it metonymy, which is the substitution of the name of an attribute or adjunct. Adjunct is like what we say in Italian complemento, some characteristic, some quality, for that of the thing meant. Dust is a metonymy for the dead English soldier. He says dust every time he says dust, he means the English soldier. So let's hurry back to the final slide. What can we comment on this? We can comment only is not only a place, but a living creature. A nurturing mother. Nurturing means that gives food. A hope in the afterlife. There is an English heaven. Did you ever think that there could be an English heaven? That heavens could be divided by nations? Here there seems to be this idea. I always thought that if there's a heaven for everybody. No, here there's an English heaven. And the metonymy or synecdoche, I was saying this before, right? Only a small part of us English, only one of our values, friendship, has, I don't know, there's something wrong here, have the power to stand for the whole country. Friendship, rivers, sun, these all mean one single thing, the whole England. Final step, we have to analyze the sound effects. The sound effects, you find them usually in your books because they're very simple to recognize. Let's have a quick look at the most important one. Repetition, as I said before. Repetition of prose. It is an essential unifying element of every kind of writing. It may consist of sounds, syllables, words, phrases, stanzas, metrical patterns, ideas, allusions, shapes, could be anything. Among these, let's have a look at anaphora, which is the repetition of the same word at the beginning of the verse. Alliteration, the repetition of the consonant sound, especially at the beginning of words. 5 miles meandering with a maze motion. Here we have an alliteration M, miles, meandering, mazy motion. Assonance is the same as alliteration but with vowels. It is sometimes called vocalic rhyme and consists of the repetition of the same vowel sound. Then we have onomatopoeia, when we make the sound of something by using words. For example, cough, 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 cough. Cough means and it is written cough. So you hear cough and you imagine kind of cough. Sorry. Run on lines, it's when the meaning runs begins in a line and ends in the other. Here we have in our poem we have an example of a run on line. For example, here that there's some corner of a foreign land that is forever England. Here you see the sentence begins in this line and ends in the other line. Or again, another run-on line, there shall be in that rich earth a richer dust concealed. The syntactical unity, the phrase, the sentence, doesn't end at the end of the line, but runs on in the other line. This is a device used to make the discourse, the rhythm more fluid. So, last but not least, again, now it's your time to write your poem analysis. I'm going to give you a very simple one. And here again, what will you have to do? Introduction, short summary. Part 1, structure. Part 2, arguments development. Part 3, language analysis, grammar and lexis. Parts 4, figures of speech connected with the themes and meaning, sound effects connected with the themes and meaning, and a conclusion. Conclusion is always a dog for everybody. What should you do in the conclusion? Okay, you're not Shakespeare, none of us is. So what will you do? You state again the most important theme and how it was made effective. And that's the end of your poem analysis. Bye.